Welcome to the seventh chapter of the book of Esther. We're continuing in this chapter with the prepositions, and we'll be featuring the preposition en, epsilon ni. It's always with a dative, and it always it has the English derivative in, and it means in that sometimes other words, and as we get to them, we'll point those out. And it begins. Isilthe the o Vasilevs ke aman, sim piin te Vasilisi. So they entered in. They entered in, actually. I could have put ilthe is to come and come in, and they entered. And the Vasilevs and Haman to drink together with the Vasilisi, the queen. You can see the Vasilev, the vassal, and all these. The basil plant is the English derivative, as we mentioned. To drink. Sim peeing. Peeing is to drink, and the sim is actually the preposition seen with, together, with the queen. So Haman has been taken to this feast that Esther is given, and he is remorse because of what happened with having to walk Mordecai through the city and on the horse and have everybody looking at what's going on and being feeling bad because it was supposed to be him. He thought he would be the one riding on the horse instead of Mordecai, and then he goes home and his friends and wife says, more or less, you may as well die. Nothing's going to go right for you now. God's against you. So then as soon as that happens, the eunuch comes to pick up Haman to take him to the this banquet. And so now he's there, and at verse 2, Ipe they o vasiles ti Esther ti devtera imera into poto ti esti Esther vasilisa ke tito itimasu ke tito axiomasu ke este si eos imisus tis vasileus mu. And 1:2, the Vasilev said to Esther on the Devtera, with Deuteronomy, the second law, the second Imera, ephemeral day, at the banquet or in the banquet. Poto has to do with drinking, potable. What is it to you? What is it, Esther, Queen, Vasilisa? And what is your request? And what is your petition? And it will be yours unto Imisus, half of my Vasilias kingdom. Imisus, the hemisphere, half of a sphere. In verse 3 it continues, Ke apokrithisa ipen I evron harin enopion tu Vasileos, dothito ipsikito itimati mu, ke op leos mu to axiomati mu. And answering, she says, if I have found favor before the Vasileos, let him give psyche, life, to my request. Psychology, psyche, psych, has to do with life or living, to my request. And my leos, laity is a derivative, to my petition. Let him give life to my request and to my people. So now she's bringing up the subject, her people, which she kept secret because Mordecai more or less told her to do that, and so she has kept a secret from everybody that she's a Jew who are going to be wiped out soon by the proclamation of the king through Haman, who's now sitting there right by her. Eparathimen gar, ego te ke oleos mu, is apolian ke diarpagin, ke thulian, imis te ke ta tekna imon is paithas, ke paidiskas, ke parikusas, ugar axios o diavolos, tis avlis, tu Vasileos. And she says, for for, two, ego, the ego, both I, the te is both, and my laos, my people, were sold east into destruction. There's the east, we had that earlier, and for ravaging and slavery. This is her people, Israel, when they were in Jerusalem. We and both our children for paithas, manservants. So now he has east into destruction, and our children. And you couldn't. It could be into manservants. Uh, that would be all right, I suppose. We were sold into man far, but far seems better. So that verb can be either way in the accusative. And maidservants. And I neglected. Uh, I put to speak because that's from the context. For I neglected to speak. For the diavolos, the slander, is not axios, worthy, axiom. The diavolos, the devil, the diabolos, and it's used even in Spanish. The slanderer is not the devil. He wasn't a devil. He wasn't Satan. He was a slanderer. And we see this in many places. It tends to, says a devil, but it's a slanderer. In verse 5 it continues. Ipe they o vasoles, tis utos os atolmese, pise to pragmatuto. And the king said, Vasola, who is this who dared to do? 4160 is the verb. This pragmata, Pragmatic is the verb, English derivative, I'll get it right here, for this word pragmatic. So the king says, who would dare do such a thing? Ipe they Esther, anthropos ekthros, aman, oponiros utos, aman they atarakthi, apo tu vasileos ketis vasilisis. And Esther said, anthropos, anthropology, a man, an enemy, Haman, this wicked man, probably pointing to him. And Haman was disturbed before the Vasileos ketis vasilisis. Verse 7. O they vasilefs exanesti ek tu symposiu is ton kipon, o they Haman, aman parakali tin vasilisan, eora gar iafton in kakis onta. And the vasilefs rose up. There's X. X rose up. The X makes it up. From. There's ek. X is actually ek. And it just has a C. From the symposium is English derivative, a party. To go into, east, into the garden. And Haman, parakali, para, there's another preposition, prefix, appealed to the Vasilisan, for he saw himself in, being into kakis, kaka is evil, bad. Epestripse they o Vasilevs ek tu kipu, aman they epipeptoki epi tin cleaning, axion tin Vasilisan, ipe they o Vasilevs, oste ke tin ginika viazi, inti ikia mu, aman they acusas the atrapi to prosopu. And the Vasilevs returned ek from out of his garden, the garden. And Haman, epipepto, there's a epi as the prefix epi, and then afterwards upon, the bed, cleaning, recline, incline, laying down, the derivative, petitioning the Vasilisan. And the Vasilev said, so even with my gineka, wife, the gini, the gynecology, you use force in my Ikea, economy, house. And Haman, acousis, hearing, acoustics, derivative, was overawed in front of him. He was more or less speechless. He didn't know what to do. Here he's pleading with the queen and gets on top of the bed that she's laying on or sitting on, where they were laying at the dinner. And so the king comes back in and he's there on top of her, close to her on top of the bed. And Haman had fallen on the bed. So this was an insult apparently to the king that he would be doing that, and so that made matters worse for Haman. He's just going down fast now. And then verse 9, Ipe the harvona iston evnukon proston vasilea, idu ke xilon itimasan aman mardokeu, to lalisanti peri tu vasileos, ke orthote en tis. And harvona, 3, 1 is, now see here's, I made a mistake. I didn't catch it. I'm sorry, that's not, shouldn't be purple because that's 1. And harbona, see now you could say, well now why wouldn't that be into, but it doesn't make sense. And harbono is into of the eunuchs? No. And harbana, 1 of the eunuchs. So you don't need an accent mark on top of them, the different ones to show if it's a 1 or a preposition or if it's a numeral. And here it's a numeral and it shouldn't be blue. I just went through and saw the E's and I highlighted them and I forgot about that. So sorry about that. But anyway, Harbana, 1 of the eunuchs of Nukon, said to the Vasileia, to the king, behold, 1, Haman prepared even a tree, and a tree is K, is always and, sometimes it's even or but, for. And Haman prepared a xylon, a tree or a timber or a stake or something. We know it was how big it was pretty large. For Mordecai, the one speaking for the king, Peria, speaking good things about the king, speaking good things that saved the king about the other eunuchs trying to kill him. And Harbana says, and it was set straight up in the places, Aman, places of Haman, Pentikonta, Picon, 40 cubits. Pentikonta, we have the Pentecost. Ipe theo vasilefs, stavrothito epafto. And the king said, and here's the word I said, to me it's mind-boggling, stavrothito, let him be crucified upon it. And this is the only place that the word crucify appears in the Greek Old Testament. It appears many places, of course, in the New Testament. And let him be crucified upon it. And verse 10, ke ekremasti aman epi tuxilu o etimase mardokeo, ke tote o vasilefs ekopase apo tu thimu. And Haman was hung upon the tree. Ekremasti, upon epi, we've had that earlier, the upon, the xilu. Haman was put upon the xilu. It's a stavros, is a cross. We call it the cross. Whether it was how the beams went is up to speculation, if it went straight across or sideways or straight up, and how Jesus was hung on it. The different theories that are out there, but the xilu, and we showed earlier how it was not doesn't necessarily mean a tree. It means a timber or something like that that was built and made out of wood, and he was hung upon it. Haman was, and we'll go through this word ekramasi, hung. It appears in one place. The other one place that we haven't seen is Luke 23:39, and it says, and one of the hanging evildoers, the kremas thenton, blasphemed him, saying, if you are the Christ, save yourself and us. So the Jesus was hung on the xilu, stavros in the New Testament. It'd be interesting to do a study on stavros and use it with xilu. Uh, and it also appears in three other places. Acts 5:30. These places we already went through a couple of chapters back, but I'll go through them again. The God of our fathers raised Jesus, whom you laid hands upon, having hung upon the xilu. So the same with hung upon the xilu with Mordecai. Acts 10:39. It says, and we are witnesses of all which he did, both in the region of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they did away with by hanging upon the xilu, krimastantes. And then Galatians 3:13, it says, Christ bought us back from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it was written, accursed is every one kremamenos, hanging upon a xilu. So here this is almost the same exact thing with Mordecai, what's happening to him. So Haman now is hung upon the tree and he dies. And the rage of the king now, it says, is slack. And the thimu, we have fume, is a derivative. So we'll continue and see what happens then with the Jewish people who still have this petition to destroy them sent out throughout the world, the Persian Empire. And then we'll go through that in Chapter 8. Hope you can join us, and God bless.